Hey there, middle school students. So sorry we're not meeting in person today. I am feeling a fair bit better today. Not 100%, but a fair bit better. Thank you for asking in your heads, I'm sure. um, we might could have met in person today actually, but I figured it'd be better to make the call yesterday so that y'all could plan and prepare. And so today we're going to be diving into looking at solving two-step equations, as you can see on the screen. See, which way do I need to look? Up and to the right there. Two-step equations. Maybe. I don't know if I was pointing at the right. They might. There you go. Up there. Right there. There you go. Up there. Solving two-step equations. As you can see, we're going to be talking about solving two-step equations. We have looked at this barely, just barely before. We're kind of hitting the very end of our current level of spiral. We're going to look at just two-step equations today. We're actually going to kind of take a break on some fractions and all that kind of stuff. We may do a little bit at the very end, and there may be a little bit of sneaky fractions in there, but nothing too crazy on the fraction front. Eventually, we'll start putting mixed numbers in these and kind of bringing in more and more concepts together and dovetailing it. We're about to start hitting some proportional stuff and a bunch of word problems here at the end and all kinds of things. We're getting closer and closer by the day to being done. As far as your homework that was due today, don't worry, we will go over that. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the answers, and we'll take questions on that on Wednesday. I decided to wait and not do that on this video. That way you can ask the questions that you have and get those answered and all of those things. So save those for then. I am going to give you some homework problems today. We may end up spending a lot of Wednesday just looking at homework questions, depending on what you have, because we'll take questions over last homework and this one and all of that. So let's dive in and jump in with some examples, because we're, again, kind of in review mode, sort of. And so we're gonna look at some examples of two-step equations. We're gonna do several different kinds, and then we're gonna get some homework problems of the same thing. Let me get a better brush for this. I think this is gonna be a better option and a better size. It's gonna be too big. Shrink it down. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do example 1, right? So our first example is going to be 6 equals, we'll start out with our classic x variable, x over 4 plus 2. I think my brush is still a little bit on the big side. Let me shrink it down a little bit. All right, so our goal in these, right, just like in one-step equations, is to get that letter, that variable, all by itself. Right now, it's got all of this junk attached to it, right? It's got the 4 and the 2 and all those kind of things, so we got to get rid of those things. On these problems, now we're going to see some in a minute where this is not the case, where we get a different things, but when a problem is set up like this, with addition, subtraction kind of hanging out on the outside all by its lonesome without any parentheses or weird crazy fraction things or whatever else, then, and we'll see some other examples that are the other way around, so just put a pin in that for now. But when it looks like this, it is easier to get rid of the addition, subtraction first. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get rid of this plus 2 first. We're going to get rid of the 2, which is attached using addition. So how do we get rid of it? We subtract it. So we're going to minus 2 on this side. If we minus 2 on this side, then we've got a minus 2 on this other side. 2 minus 2 cancels, which is good. That's what we want. Now 6 minus 2 is 4. Equals x over 4. Right? So we're not finished, and we know we're not finished because this x is not by itself, right? That's our ultimate goal, is to get x all by itself, and it's not by itself, so we've got to do more things, right? Hence the two-step idea, right? So how is this 4 attached? Well, we've talked about lots of times that this fraction symbol right here is the same as division, right? So this 4 is divided. What's the opposite of dividing? Well, it's multiplication. So we're going to multiply 4 on both sides. Going to do times 4 over there and times 4 over here, right? These guys cancel. leaving us with just x. Now, if it's bothering you that the x is over on the right side, that's okay. We are going to go ahead and fix that in a minute, but we're not going to stress too much about it yet. Okay, so 4 times 4, of course, is 16. I've said it before, but in the off chance that it is more likely that your parents end up overhearing that you watching this video, I want to stress really hard that if you do not have your multiplication tables memorized through at least 12, 15 would be better. You really need to add that as a practice step in what you're doing. It's not because you have to have them all memorized. It just makes your life so much easier. We unfortunately don't have an Ember Learning Lab set of flashcards to sell you, but get some from somebody else or make some yourself or whatever else. So the last thing I like to do is we don't have to do this, but it can be useful to have the X over on the left-hand side. There are some teachers who actually say the answer is wrong if it's not that way. I think that's silly because that's false. But I do like to switch this at the end. And the reason I do is because later when we start talking about inequalities and other things, it's just easier to think about it this way. So when we end up with the X over here, I like the very last thing to do is to switch those and end up with our answer being X equals 16, right? And so we've got the X by itself with all this simplified over there, and so we're done with that problem. So there's one type, and it's that simple. Let's do another example. Let's change colors so we can play with some different things. How about orange and green this time? Okay, so example number 2. We'll do a guided practice or two after this. How does that sound? Example number 2. We're going to do, let's do 9x minus 7 equals negative 7, right? So again, if we've got this minus or plus hanging out here all by his lonesome without any weird stuff, then we probably want to get rid of him first because he's easier to take care of, all right? So I'm going to get my other color. How is this 7 attached to the x? Well, it's subtracted, right? Same as adding a negative. Let's keep saying that forever and ever. Okay, so we're going to get rid of subtracting. We're going to add 7 on both sides. So plus 7 here and plus 7 here. On this side, it cancels out. On this side, it looks like it cancels out too, but when something cancels over on both sides, we got to kind of think about, well, how does it cancel, right? On here, it just gets off the x, and that's good because we don't want it. So on the left side, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. We've got 9x left, right? On this side, what is negative 7 plus 7? How does it cancel? Because when it cancels different when it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So we've got to kind of put our thinking caps on, right? It's really important that we continue to start doing that more and more often. So what is negative 7 plus 7? Well, it's 0, okay? Which is not nothing. 0 and nothing are two different things. 0 is 0, right? So 0 is okay. Now we're not finished, right? Because we've still got something attached to that x. So we've got to get rid of that guy. So how do we get rid of this guy? Well, we've got a number right next to a letter. How we remember that means multiplication. So to get rid of multiplication, we do the opposite, which is division. So divide by 9 and divide by 9. This is really easy, right? Because we can do this kind of in our head because 0 divided by anything is still 0. So our answer is x equals 0. How does that feel? Pretty good? I hope that feels pretty good. Let's let you do a guided practice. Now, like a lot of times on our guided practice, this one's going to be a little bit tricksy and just a little bit different. That's okay. I still want you to try it and think through it on your own before you come back. I'll actually pause the video. So once I write it down, you should pause too because it'll jump right to the answer. So because that's how we're going to do that one. All right. So let's do a guided practice. Let's see. Let's do this orangey color. Orange equals danger or something. I don't know. So this is going to be our GP number 1. Guided practice number 1. And the problem is going to be negative 4 equals, let's change up our variable. Let's even throw that in there. Let's put a y on here. Y divided by 20 minus 5. All right, I'm going to pause the video and work this out. I want y'all to do the same thing and come back to me and check your work. On these, especially on these guided practice ones, y'all, if you have major questions that I don't answer through the course of the video, make sure you put a big star on them. That way you can ask those questions on Wednesday when we come back together in person, okay? Let me pause the video. So there's where we should have ended up. Did you end up the same way? Do like Dora the Explorer. Did you get that answer? I don't know. If you didn't, let's make sure you look through and understand where you might have made a mistake, right? So I added 5 to both sides, ended up with negative 4 plus 5 equals 1, right? And then I multiplied the 20 off because it was divided on there. 1 times 20 is 20. And then the last thing is I switched it because we usually like it that way better, right? So there's your first guided practice. Let's do another example problem in here. This one's going to be a little bit different. This one's going to be more differenter. Yeah, we're going to do a more differenter problem. So this is going to be example number 3. All right. Let's pick, I don't know what color. Switch over this pastel palette, see what happens. How about we just go in order? All right, so example number 3. This one's going to be more differenter. Are you ready? We'll keep our other variable. We'll keep our Y letter. I don't know if I like the pastels with this blue, but oh well, it's not art class. I guess it doesn't have to look great. Y plus 9 over 3 equals 8. All right, you see where this is different? You see the tricksiness that's happening? I'm gonna see if I can move this down a little bit because I want the space. All right. So see how this is different? This division sign goes all the way on the whole thing. That's really important. Now, normally, remember, we're going to be getting rid of our multiplication stuff first. Oops, that's not what I wanted. How about that? Not our multiplication stuff first. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Normally, right, we're going to be trying to get rid of our addition subtraction first. So you might think, well, let's subtract 9 from both sides. The problem and the reason why we can't do that first is because here we've got this 3 that's kind of bothering everything. All right, so we got to get rid of that guy first. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this 3 first. Now, how is this 3 attached? What is that fraction sign the same as? It's the same as division, right? So to get rid of division, we multiply. So we're going to multiply times 3 on both sides. We're going to do 3 on this side and then times 3 on this other side. These ones cancel, right? Leaving us with just y plus 9 equals 8 times 3. What is that one? 24. Again. If you do not have your times tables memorized, you should probably work on that on some flashcards and other stuff because it's going to make your life a lot easier, right? I just cannot stress that enough. It's really important that it's just really, really going to make your life so much easier, okay? So to get rid of this 9, that's easy. We subtract it from both sides. Minus 9, minus 9. And then we've got y equals, you could scratch paper this one if you want to, right? All right, but we're going to end up with, what was that, 15. Y equals 15 as our answer. There it is. Let's do a guided practice like that one. And then we have one more type. And then we have one more type after this. And then we're going to give you some homework. And we're going to call this video quits. How long have we been going? Let's see. We are recording. Yes, we are. Yeah, that's going to put us about right on time, I think. So that's good. All right, so we're going to do an example. Oh, no, we're going to do a guided practice. Is that what I just said? Yes, it is. So let's do, how about this one as guided practice? I think that's a good idea. So GP number 2. Oh, this is the one where I want you to pause it, right? And then we'll walk through it together. So GP number 2 is going to be, let's throw in a differenter letter. Let's throw in an A. How about A plus 5 over negative 16. A little tricky, but not too scary. You got this. Equals negative 1, right? Okay, so I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to work it out, and we're going to come back and look at it together. So there's where we ended up. Now we do the Dora Explorer face again. Is that what the answer you got? If not, make sure you take a look and see if you understand where you made the mistake. If you absolutely cannot find it, of course, make sure you put a big star on that and ask it on Wednesday. There are a couple places that I think would be pretty easy to make mistakes here on this problem. This negative 16, the fact that you got to multiply both sides by negative 16 to get rid of that negative 16 might be an issue, right? And then a negative times a negative is a positive 16. I could see that as being a big place where you might make a mistake. Another place that might make a mistake is, of course, on this. If you're getting their integer rules, a little bit wonky. 16 minus 5 is 11. I know that sounds easy, but once we start getting these negatives, our brains start going all kinds of different places. So those are the places where I think you could have made a mistake. But let me know if there's any place you're confused or any of those kinds of things. All right, let's do one more example and maybe one more guided practice, and then we will get some homework, and then we will call this video finished. Let's see. Yep, I think that's what we're going to do. Let's do... That one is the example, and that one is the guided practice. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Oops. All right. This is what? What example is this? This is example 4. Example number 4. Oh, that's crazy big. Let me shrink my brush down another size or 2. So example number 4 is going to be 144 equals negative 12 times, but now watch out, we're going to do times with the parentheses like that. Negative 12 times x plus 5, right? Okay. Now, if you're later in your math career, you might be thinking distributive property, which is fine, but actually, if you learn it this way, you'll find that it's actually faster on this particular kind of problem. So there you go. You're welcome. So this is a two-step problem too. Now, again, like we're going back up to these first ones, we might be tempted to think, well, let's subtract the 5. But we can't do that because that 5 is protected by these parentheses, right? So we can't get at that 5 until we deal with the stuff outside first, okay? So what we've got to do first is we got to get rid of this negative 12. Now, how is this negative 12 attached? Now, if we have 5x, we've got a number next to a letter, right? And if we have a number next to a letter, that's times. So it kind of works the same way with parentheses. If we have a number, negative 12, next to a parentheses, then that means there's a times right there, right? And that's what's going on there, right? And so in order to get rid of multiplication or times, we have to divide. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to divide both sides by, I don't know what color to use. How about just go back to this white? That's easy. Divide both sides by negative 12. Almost forgot a negative. You got to watch those signs. They get sneaky and try to do weird things on you. So these ones cancel, right? Now 144 divided by 12. Again, we really need our 12s, at least through our 12s. 15s would be better memorized, right? If we have different signs divided, it comes out negative. So negative 12. You could do that long division, right? 12 goes into 14 once, and then et cetera, right? And then just remember your integer rules for the finish. That would be true. It's just going to take you a little bit longer, right? So we're going to bring down everything we haven't touched over here. So we're going to bring down x plus 5. Now, is that 5 attached? It's added, so we're going to get rid of it by subtracting 12. Minus 12, minus 12. What am I writing? Ha! I made a mistake, and I didn't even have y'all live to cancel. At least I caught my own mistake. How about minus 5, huh? That's going to make a little more sense. So minus 5, minus 5. These 5s cancel. Negative 12 minus 5. Minus 5 is the same as adding negative 5, right? So this, I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but we got to get that locked into our brain. So these are, in fact, the same sign, right? So we're going to add and keep the sign. So the sign is negative. And then 12 plus 5 is 17. So negative 17 equals x. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to flip it around to that way we like to see it, right? Okay, so we end up with x equals negative 17. And we're going to circle our answer, and that's it, right? Let's do a guided practice that's a lot like that one. And then we will look at our homework, and then we'll be done. Okay, so the guided practice number 3, GP number 3, is going to be this one. It's very similar to this last one, right? It's going to be 2 times quantity of n plus 5 equals negative 2. All right? Ready, set, go. I'm going to pause my video. You do the same, and we'll come back and compare notes. So there we are. Do you see Boots? Fox. Swiper, that's his name. Swiper, no swiping. So did you get negative 6? And if not, we need to make sure and look and see if you can figure out why not. I've got all my work on there. Now the places that I think would be likely where you might make a mistake might be this sign here at the beginning, not getting a negative 1. Negative 2 divided by positive 2 is a negative 1. I could see that. I could also, again, see our integer rules slipping us up here. These signs are the same. Negative 1 plus negative 5 or negative 1 minus 5. Both ways of saying it. The signs are the same. And so we add and keep the sign. Those, I think, would be the most likely places for mistakes. So there are our notes. Let me zoom out and make sure you can get all the notes and all of those things. So that's what we have. All right, so our homework problems, I'm probably going to need to zoom in again, pull this up, and then pull this up. So here's our homework problems right here. Okay. Oops, zoomed in a little too far. I'm going to read them out loud just to make sure you get them copied right. So number 1 is negative 6 plus x over 4 equals negative 5, right? 2 is 0 equals 4 plus n over 5. Number 3 is negative 1 equals, and we've got a big fraction of 5 plus x all over 6. And then number 4, we have 10 minus 6y equals negative 104. And then number 5, we have negative 10 equals 10 times, in parentheses, a minus 9. That one may be a little bit tricksy. Make sure we get that right. Make sure that this is an a right here and this is a 9. That's what's going on there. I know that's a little bit crazy with handwriting and making sure we understand. And sometimes people's handwriting is bad, and so we assume everybody else's is going to be, and so our brains end up reading weird things that don't exist, like my 5s. So make sure that it is a minus 9. Right? Make sure that's there. So number 6, we have 7 times, in parentheses, 9 plus z, close parentheses, equals 84, right? And then number 7, we have 8 plus b over negative 4. That's a b, not a 6, all right? Equals 5. And then the last problem is negative 243 equals negative 9 times, in parentheses, 10 plus X. I would scratch paper that division net there. It's going to make your life a little bit easier. So there are the problems. Again, we'll go over this homework and last time's homework on class on Wednesday. We may spend most of class kind of looking at homework, which would be totally fine. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you remembered lots and it all worked out okay. I'll see y'all Wednesday. Have a good couple days.